Okay, terrific. It's such a great pleasure to be able to talk with all you. I'm so sorry I'm not there in Korea. I've had a wonderful time every time I've gone to the World Knowledge Forum. And it's funny, the last time I was there, it was called Pandemonium, and now it's Try Anything. And I think it's time. I think we really need to try anything. So I think you're on to the right. Each year, I think you have the right model, and I think it's very exciting to see Korea come to the forefront and lead us, particularly after the last 6 months have been such a challenge and so traumatic on all of us. It's great to see Korea coming forward and saying, hey, it's startups that are going to lead us out of this, and we're going to all be better off as a result. So with that, I'd like to talk to you first a little bit about the macro world, the way the world has evolved, and then get into what a startup can do today and how a startup can make an impact. And then I'll talk about what kind of startups I look for. As you know, I am a venture capitalist. I've been in the venture business now for 36 years, and we've had more than 36 unicorns that we've funded from scratch. And this has been a really tremendous career, and I've really enjoyed spreading entrepreneurship and venture capital around the world. But now there's sort of a new, it's almost like that was my old mission, and now I've got a new mission. So let me help you with what my thinking is. The world used to be tribal. It used to be that we laid down all these borders, and those borders would keep us safe from attack from other countries or whatever. And then with the advent of the internet, we realized that we were much better off all working with each other. And when we started to work with each other, we realized that that we could communicate globally, we could make great businesses happen globally, and any startup that happened could have a global impact. And we're all better off. Whenever there's trade across a border, we're all better off. And so what we recognized was that the world has gone from being tribal to being global, and it's entrepreneurs that are leading us in that direction. They're leading us toward a global world, and I encourage you, if you're an entrepreneur, to be thinking globally. So some of the things that have happened, the internet transformed a lot of industries, a lot of very interesting industries, from communications to information to gaming, entertainment, media. So many industries got affected by the internet, and they opened up our world, and our world is so much better for it. Well, then we ended up creating a global currency, Bitcoin, and a new way of keeping track of money on the blockchain and keeping track of data on the blockchain. And now there are smart contracts, and there's surveillance, and there are all these new technologies. Well, those technologies are going to have a bigger impact on the world than any of what the internet did, because those technologies are going to transform the biggest industries in the world, the trillion-dollar industries. So you, as an entrepreneur or as a leader, have an opportunity to impact these and create a trillion-dollar enterprise, a trillion-dollar industry. And those include banking, because Bitcoin's better than banking, accounting and legal, because the smart contract and the blockchain actually can do a better job of keeping track of your money and your contracts. And so banking's going to change. All banking, all commerce, and then insurance is going to change. Insurance is another trillion-dollar industry, because you can, with a a couple of entrepreneurs and an insurance mathematician and surveillance, you can actually create a better insurance company than any of the insurance companies that have been out there historically. Because right now, when you do insurance, you pay your premiums, pay, and then you issue a claim, and the insurance company comes after you with lawyers and detectives and whatever. But with surveillance, the insurance company can just sort of look down and go, oh yeah, your house did burn down in that fire, or your car did blow over in that big wind, because we already have the data. We have that interesting data, and we can provide a better insurance program. Healthcare is going to change in a big way. Healthcare we have a company called Cloudmedix in our portfolio, and Cloudmedix uses data to determine diagnostics for a patient. And it turns out they can do a better job than the doctor can. And when combined with a doctor, they can do an even better job of diagnosing a patient. You combine that with all the data and the computational biochemistry that's happening in the drug design business, and you have a whole new medical system that is completely artificial intelligence, and that could end up being it's going to be an enormous market. That's in the tens of trillions of dollars, and so healthcare is going to go through a major transformation, and you as an entrepreneur can make a big impact on that, and that's healthcare worldwide. And then government is going to change. And I think it's really interesting. This move from going from tribal to global is a very difficult one for a lot of governments, because they're saying, well, wait a second, my power base is tied to being tribal. It's tied to my geographic border. But as we know, as entrepreneurial entrepreneurs, as internet entrepreneurs, we know that the world is open and global, and there's many opportunities to go cross border. And so what you're seeing is two kinds of leaders today. You're seeing the leaders who are clinging to the past and trying to control their borders and control the way their country operates and control their people. And then there are the leaders who are leading us to become more of a global society and opening their borders and opening up to free markets and free trade throughout the world. It's very clear that the better approach is the open approach. The greatest leaders in the history of the world have been the ones that gave up their own power for the power of all of their people. And I think that will continue to be the case. So the great leaders are going to be the ones that are going to say, let's open, let's become global, let's become a great country where entrepreneurs will want to go. It was interesting to see that when China shut down its borders and locked down and said Bitcoin was illegal, then all the great entrepreneurs from China said, wait a second, I've got this great business, what do I do? And Japan said, hey, we'll make Bitcoin a national currency. And then all these Chinese entrepreneurs went to Japan, and they said, well, this is a better place. And for instance, when Binance got started, they were started in China, and it got to be like worth $10 billion. And the Chinese government said, what you're doing is illegal. And so then they moved to Singapore, and Singapore was good for a while, and then they got heavy-handed, and then they moved to Malta. So the entrepreneur of a great business has the flexibility to move to the country that is the most appropriate for them. And so you'll end up, as an entrepreneur, having a choice. And governments are going to have to compete for you. They're going to have to provide better services for you. They're going to be accountable to you. And not just entrepreneurs, but they're going to be accountable to just constituents, people throughout their country and people throughout the world. I know Estonia has done something really extraordinary, where they created a virtual residency, and they allow people to, in effect, run businesses in Estonia or anywhere throughout Europe without having to set foot in Estonia. They allow this virtual government to take over. So I think governance is going to be very different. So these are some of the biggest industries in the world. I also think real estate's going to change. I think the entire all title will eventually be on Proppy. It'll all be on a blockchain. So those are 6 of the biggest industries in the world, and they are going to go through huge transformations. So you, as an entrepreneur, can make a big impact on the world by affecting these industries. And now I'll tell you a little bit about what we look for. We look for entrepreneurs who are taking new technologies and applying it to an industry and solving a big problem, and doing it by figuring out how to create a business model that can make money, because you're not doing anybody any service if you're not making money. If you make money, it'll spread around the world, everyone will see it, and the world will be a better place. If you don't make money, you become part of the problem. And then you're in need rather than creating an opportunity for the world. So make sure you're making money, and then move and become a business that can grow and wedge into a new industry, and then slowly become a major part of that industry, and then eventually potentially dominate the industry, so that there are new entrepreneurs that can come and challenge you when you become a big success. So when we evaluate an entrepreneur, the first thing we do is we say, is this a big enough deal? If you're going to dedicate your life to something, solve a big problem, solve an important problem, something where you think you're going to make a big impact on the world. Solve a problem that you feel like you can dedicate your life to, and you won't feel like you have even sacrificed a thing, even though you've sacrificed your entire life. Go after one of those. And then once you've got that down, once you've figured out what the problem is, then go and say, how am I going to solve this problem? What's the product or service I can provide to help solve this problem? And then the third thing is, how am I going to make money providing that service? Who's going to pay me? Who's my customer? And then it's, how do I delight that customer, make that customer so happy with me that they want to tell all their friends about it and spread the word? And then make sure that that business goes and grows into that industry, whatever that industry is. That's what we're looking for. That's the business. And that has served me very well. I've been able to back some of the greatest companies in the world: Tesla, Hotmail, Skype, SpaceX, Robinhood, Twitch. I backed all these companies when they were, 2 guys and a dog, or a girl, a cat, and a couple of guys. I funded them then, and I looked at them and I said, yes, you seem to have the dedication, you have the vision, you have a strong business model, you've thought this thing through, and you're worth the risk. And when I invest, I know that I'm going to lose about half my investments, but the other half might be companies that are industry changers. And so that's really what I'm looking for. I have a university. I'll start with this. A big part of my business is generating deal flow. And so I'll go out and I'll speak and I'll tell people, hey, I'm in the venture business. My email address is tim@draper.vc, so send me your business plan. I grow my business that way. I create this huge funnel. And then I look for entrepreneurs And then I realized that a lot of those entrepreneurs need training. And so we set up Draper University of Heroes to drive that training. And we have an online program for entrepreneurs that's 2 weeks, and it can get you started into our program. And then and then for some of the best of those entrepreneurs, we will put them through Real Hero Training, which is a 5-week program in the Silicon Valley, where we, oh boy, this might be an emergency. I'm sorry, hold on just a, okay, I think it's okay. Okay, so when you're an entrepreneur, I want you to think about joining Draper University, going to the online program, eventually coming to the Hero Training, and then we fund a lot of companies coming out of Hero Training, and that is a great path for people who are interested in becoming entrepreneurs. We even have a show called Meet the Drapers, where some entrepreneurs, particularly those who want to have a broad audience, we can come. We have 9 million viewers. I don't think we show in Korea yet, but we have 9 million viewers, and you entrepreneurs can get on and face me and my dad and my sister and my kids. Actually, all my kids are in. 3 of my kids are in venture capital, and then we crowdfund it, so we allow the viewer to invest. So it's a great fun activity. And I want to leave you with this, and that is, or I want to put this into your head. Freedom is the most important thing. And I feel like I shouldn't have to say this to a country in South Korea. My father fought for your freedom, and you have freedom. And all you have to do is go north of the demilitarized zone, and you can see what happens when you have socialism, when you have a country where it's a socialist dictator and he decides what everybody's supposed to do. Freedom allows you to decide what you want to do and how you can build your own life. And the difference between South Korea and North Korea is very clear. So anytime anybody says, oh, I think socialism might work, it doesn't work. It has never worked. It didn't work in Russia. It didn't work in China. It's not working in China now. It didn't work in China, but then when they brought in capitalism, free market economy, all of a sudden under Deng Xiaoping's China just grew and flourished. It didn't work in Eastern Europe, and in Western Europe, we had free markets, and Western Europe became much more valuable. China didn't work, but Hong Kong did. Hong Kong was a free market, China was not, and that was back until about 40 years ago. Now China's this big, huge economy, and somehow they're going the wrong way. It's like back to government control. We don't want government control. We want you to be able to control your own life. We want to be free to move across borders. We want to be free to do business across borders. Freedom is the most important thing, and we will never be better off than having a completely free world. And the great news is that that Bitcoin is free. Bitcoin is open, transparent, global. You can, if you're stuck in Syria and the military drives you out of Syria and all you have is Syrian money, you go to Greece and you're a refugee and you're out of luck. But if you have Bitcoin, you can go to Syria, take your Bitcoin, leave Syria, take your Bitcoin and pull it down and buy a house in Greece and get going again. The world is wide open. The world now has global currencies that are not tied to individual political forces. and I think Korea should also adopt Bitcoin as a national currency, as Japan did before, and as Malta has, and many other countries have. If Bitcoin becomes a national currency, it attracts all the entrepreneurs to your country. You will get the best and the brightest from the world if you open up and you become an open economy. It's amazing the difference now and how people are recognizing the value of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies when we had this COVID crisis, because the US decided to just print $13 trillion, just print them out of nowhere. And so suddenly the dollars are potentially worth less than they were before. And it makes it so that Bitcoin and all these other cryptocurrencies who have a fixed number are going to be much more valuable by comparison. You want a currency that is not tied to a government. You want a currency that is open, transparent, global. You want it so it keeps perfect records. You want the governments to recognize it so that eventually I want an entrepreneur out there, and maybe somebody from Korea can do this, that makes it so the governments can still get their taxes in Bitcoin. So my long-term hope is for me to raise a fund completely in Bitcoin, invest it completely in Bitcoin, have my entrepreneurs pay their employees and suppliers in Bitcoin, and then have all of my investors get paid on smart contracts. So the entire system is automated, and that the accounting is all done right on the blockchain and kept perfect track of, so that I don't have to do an audit, transfer payments. I don't need an auditor, accountant, a bookkeeper, any of those things, because it's already being done. And what that does then is, if all the accounting can be done in Bitcoin, the taxes can be paid in Bitcoin too. And so governments can get their tax payment in crypto if the whole business is done in crypto. So I think that there's a new way for us to operate, and it is global and it is open, and you entrepreneurs are the ones who are going to do it. You're the ones who are going to take us to this new global world, to free us of the restrictions of the tribal world, and move us to some great place in the future. I really look forward to it. I think this COVID has created a new platform from which all you entrepreneurs can grow and show us a world that we want to live in. And I think Korea is well suited for this, because Korea has such great technology, and really Korea needs to make sure that the companies that are started in Korea become global from day one. It's amazing how many amazing things came out of Korea, but we're not spread around the world. The first time I saw video on a phone was in Korea. The first time I saw a massively multiplayer game was in Korea. But the biggest businesses happen in other countries. So Korea, I'm counting on great things from you. We have John Nam from Strong Ventures is a part of the Draper Venture Network. So, and he's a Korean venture capitalist. I have 2 Koreans on my team now who are working very hard and doing great work. So I'm a lover of Korea. I think great things are happening in Korea, and thank you for having me. If anybody has any questions for me, I guess the only way to do it is to send me an email, tim@draper.vc. And I want to thank Dynasty, and I want to thank the World Knowledge Forum and the Try Everything. Actually, Try Everything is pretty close to the motto of Draper University. We say, I will fail and fail again until I succeed. Thank you. Kamsahamnida.